The BYU football program has a star at quarterback in Bear Bachmeier that is as good as anybody nationwide, and you're not going to believe who said that.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch. Coming up on today's show, we are going to talk about what you want to talk about. It's a Fan Friday. We'll talk first about BYU football. Then we'll talk BYU basketball and also reflect on the one-year anniversary of BYU Athletic Director Brian Santiago taking over the post as he succeeded Tom Holmoe. We'll get to that a little later on. But I want to start off today's show, and it's very clear that BYU has an absolute stud in Bear Bachmeier. He came out a season ago and led BYU to a 12-2 campaign. And I think a lot of us, and I've been talking about it constantly on this show, believe that he is set to take the next step and really become a household name for the BYU football program this fall. Well, Ron McBride, yes, the former Utah head coach himself, once upon a time, the burr in the side of Lavelle Edwards in the 1990s. He and Lavelle got along famously. Well, he actually thinks that Bear Bachmeier is quite literally, in his mind, as good as any quarterback nationwide right now. And I'm going to let you hear it because he said it on my show, DJ and PK, that I produce every single day for the KSL Sports Zone. And it absolutely floored me. Is as effusive in his praise as he was for Bear Bachmeier. So without further ado, you guys need to hear this for yourself. Here is Ronnie Mack yesterday on the KSL Sports Zone.
Very impressed with the speed of their team. I thought the court, I've seen all these first-round draft choices in person, you know, the ones at SC and other schools, and I've watched them in practice. And this kid is, in my opinion, is better than all of them. I mean, he's a special, the Bachmeier kid is a special player. And I think he's in a league by himself. At least the practices I watched, I mean, his anticipation on his throws, you know, making the throw before the cut and understanding coverage and he makes it look easy. And so just watching him in practice, I was really impressed with him, his mentality, and he has a good rapport with the players, and he's a very academic guy. So I don't see him leaving BYU early because I think his mother really stresses academics. And I think he will stay at BYU until he graduates. Now, I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way I see it.
He's in a league by himself. Now, that may be in your mind, he's just trying to kind of layer platitudes on BYU to set them up to fail. I know Ronnie Mack, and I've known him for many, many years now doing what I do in sports radio. And one thing I know about Coach McBride is he has a very, very keen eye for talent, and he has a keen eye for understanding what a good talent looks like. And when Ron McBride says that Bear Bachmeier is in, quote, a league by himself, unquote, that's not just idle chatter. That's not Coach Mack just, like I said, trying to puff up BYU so that they can, the pride comes before the fall, for example. That's not his style. He has got incredible relationship with Kalani Sitake, with Morgan Skelly. He is one of the few individuals who can go to both programs, roll around spring ball as much as he pleases, and these coaches just embrace him. He is part of the coaching fraternity. He has got more than probably 5 decades now, at least, of high-level coaching experience in the college ranks, and he has never really stopped coaching, even though he is in his upper 80s now. Coach Mack believes that Bear Bachmeier is as good as there is in this country. He mentioned first-round picks. I've watched guys at USC. I think he's referring to guys like Jaden Mayava, who's currently at USC, and the like. And he believes that Bear is as good, if not better, than those individuals. Don't take my word for it. Take Coach Mack's word for it. Bear Bachmeier is ready to lead BYU to, I think, some pretty incredible heights. And it's also very interesting to hear Coach Mack say that he thinks that Bear will play out however long it takes him to get his degree. Now, in this day and age of college athletics, with the tutors and the study hall and all the things that are available to student athletes with regards to academics, guys can get through degree programs pretty darn quickly. 3 years is actually, if you're going year round, you can get done relatively quickly. So that does not stop Bear Bachmeier potentially from being an early entrant into the NFL draft after what would, in theory, be his third season next year, leading the BYU football program. But as he mentioned, he's an academic kid. He's a smart kid. And any of you have had any interaction or have ever heard Bear talk, he is a very, very thoughtful individual. But I think Coach Mack is right. This is a kid who loves the game. He is coming into his own. And if what Coach McBride saw on the field translates, and what that is, we see that come to fruition this fall for BYU in the Big 12 and heck, Big 12 championship game, college football playoff, all the stuff that we want to see BYU accomplish. Aren't we all going to be in for a pretty special treat to watch the next step or steps or the leaps or the bounds or heck, I don't know, whatever terminology you want to use, that Bear Bachmeier is ready to become the next star quarterback in the pantheon of BYU quarterbacks. And there are very few schools who can lay claim to being what they call QBU. BYU is one of them. You can go all the way back. If you want to go all the way back to Virgil Carter, you want to start with Gary Scheide, and look at that conveyor belt that Lavelle Edwards had, the Giff Nilsons, Giff Nilsson, Mark Wilson, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Robbie Bosco, Ty Detmer, Steve Sarkisian, on down the list. Obviously, Bronco Mendenhall had John Beck and Max Hall. Kalani Sitake has had Zach Wilson. He's had Jaron Hall. He has had Jake Retzloff. And now he's got the Bear Bachmeier. Get ready, folks. Like I said, when Coach Mack speaks, you can take it for what it's worth, but I've known Coach Mack for a long time. As I mentioned, he, even in his upper 80s, he has a keen eye for talent, for understanding how players develop, and he knows good football and good football players when he sees them, and he believes that Bear Bachmeier is as good as there is. That's exciting. And I, for one, I'm here for it, because I hope that what Coach Mack saw, and I'm sure that others have seen, if Bear Bachmeier is as good as he is being advertised to be, what he accomplished last year, he lost to just one team last year. It was back-to-back losses to Texas Tech. And you can look at that Texas Tech situation and say, okay, he didn't have his running back in LJ in the game in Lubbock, and he got dinged up in the Big 12 title game. Yeah, he'll be chomping at the bit if he gets a crack at Texas Tech once again in a rematch in the Big 12 title game. He's never lost to literally anybody else in his collegiate career outside of the Red Raiders. If he is as good as what Ronnie Mack is saying here, he's not going to lose very often going forward. All right, coming up next, it is Fan Friday. We'll talk some more BYU football. Big games on the schedule. Who is the X factor? Well, had a handful of our Locked On Cougar Everydayer Club members join me here on the show, and they get their say. They're the star of the show the rest of the way. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show brought to you by Rocket Money. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, hey, where'd all my money go? Well, you're not alone. Keeping track of your subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money enters the fray. It helps you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks your subscriptions in one spot. It helps you cancel ones you don't need with just a few taps. You'd be surprised how many of us out there have opened up multiple Uber Eats, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all the different accounts and subscription services you have. Probably have multiples, and they can help you cancel them. Automatically categorizes your spending so you can see exactly where your money is going. You can set your budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of your upcoming bills. It makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not signed up for the Locked On Cougars Everydayer Club, well, now the time to do just that. Join us today. Get access to audio ad-free episodes, everything you want in terms of Locked On merch, access to our members-only Discord server, and more. There's just a bevy of different features. Go to lockedoncougars.supercast.com. That's lockedoncougars.supercast.com. All right. Or else, by the way, check out the link in the show notes below if you want more on that. But let's get to it right now. Fan Friday edition of the show had a great conversation talking BYU football first. Then we get to BYU basketball and obviously reflect on the 1-year anniversary of Brian Santiago taking over as BYU's athletic director. So without further ado, here's your Fan Friday squad show. We are joined by Trevor, John, and Jordan. They are panel for this Friday. And gentlemen, first off, it's good to have you guys here, but I want to start you off with this question. The BYU football program has obviously got a lot of people excited for this upcoming season, come off 2 really, really solid years. What are your guys' expectations for what the Cougars could accomplish this year? I am going to fire off. Trevor, go.
I think that honestly, we just continue building on what we've seen the last couple of seasons. I think that having the returning production that we have is going to set us up well. And really, the Notre Dame game is scary, but at the same time, it's nothing that we can't handle. And I think that this gives us the chance to show that we can beat a playoff caliber team and that we can hang with the big boys for real.
John, what do you got?
Jeez, man. I hate my take on this so much because again, I remember when I grew up loving BYU, falling in love with BYU football when we were playing in the MAC, we were playing in the Mountain West. And if we skimmed the top 25 at the end of the year, I was like, man, what a great season. But I'm at the point now where, especially with this lineup, with this lineup and this schedule, it feels like the stars are aligning for an 11-1 season. And if we don't hit 11-1, I'm going to be kind of bummed. I'm going to be super grateful for whatever happens, right? We're going to make a bowl game, but with the hardest conference conference game probably being Arizona, again, the toss-up game for me is Notre Dame, obviously, and Utah's always a toss-up, but Utah's in a complete rebuild, and Devin Dampier sucks. He's not that good. He's not that good. He's 5'11" with cleats on, and he can't throw deep down the middle. He's a halfback. The only thing that Devin Dampier has for him is the element of surprise. You don't know if he's going to throw. You don't know if he's going to run. If he's going to throw deep down the middle, it's going to get picked. So, like I said, I think that the stars are aligned for this season to be 11-1, 12-0. And I hate that I say that, but that's where I feel right now.
So John is now Tanner Wall's favorite because Tanner Wall has that famous quote.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll throw deep across the middle there, Devin. All right, Jordan, what are your takes on this?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I think everyone is
do we freeze?
Super excited. I mean, it's cool that us three, John and Trevor, are hopping on here. Just that kind of shows the growth of BYU football, just your platform even. But I think what's happened really over the last few years is pretty miraculous. I mean, I'm a younger guy. I'm 23, but, growing up, I think, some of the coaches I followed were Mendenhall, and then I forget the one before him after LaBelle, I guess. And it's just amazing to see where we were and then where we are now, but how fast that's come. It kind of reminds me of inflation since COVID. That's like BYU football pretty much. Seriously. I mean, we're growing at this mass scale, and it's really fun and exciting. But I feel like when I look kind of across the board at all our players, our 2 deep is just so solid right now across the board everywhere, where I feel like every other year in BYU history, I don't think there's a single year you can really say that. Even last year is a little bit questionable. So I think this is the first year where all the starters and then a backup for everyone is okay, I know they can go out there and win games, and it's going to be exciting too. It's not just the players we have too is what's exciting. The players. I mean, these are players that it's I'm waiting for Kyler Casper to catch some balls on people's heads. This is going to be a fun year. You look at our wide receivers, everyone's 6 foot plus. We got big guys in the interior. We got LJ coming back, who's going to be a unit. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's coming off surgeries to where it's a surgery that they can recover from and they can be more solid than they were before. So I think everything is looking really positive from here on out for BYU. And I hope there's not any, where it becomes stagnant or, just kind of goes straight. I feel like hopefully we'll keep an upward curve to where we're going.
Okay, Jordan, you bring up a very good point there. Oh, sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I agree with you for the most part. I mean, retaining Falatal Satawala was an absolute miracle in my book. He was a Jay Hill guy.
Yeah.
To have Kalani go and retain him is amazing. I would say I am still worried about our receiving core.
That's the point I wanted to bring up. That's what I was going to mention. So the receiving core is kind of the question mark. I think most people, when I'm on different Locked On shows, are kind of asking me, okay, what's the receiving core look like? Because you lose Chase, Parker's no longer in the program right now. So it's essentially it's been whitewashed in a way in terms of just new bodies there. So I guess I'll start off with you, John. What is your confidence level that whether it's tight ends or the new receivers, whoever it is, who do you think steps up in that circumstance?
Oh gosh, man. I hope Sione Moa. Friggin' dude was a beast. It reminds me of like the fullbacks of old, like Fui Vakapuna, Manasseh Tonga. Dude, just built like a fridge. I remember seeing Manasseh Tonga when I was in college at the old malt shop where that used to be by the stadium. Dude could barely fit in the booth. He was so big, but he wasn't that tall. But I'm just power running, smash it down your face. And I think LJ is that for sure. But LJ is a little bit more finesse. But I just want to see Sione Moa. Like, I want him to stay healthy. I just think he's a dog. Just works so hard. So I think that's one. And then, man, I want Jojo Phillips to be that feature receiver. I want him to be the Darius Lasser. I want him to be the Chase Roberts. That's what those are my two. And then I have high hopes for the Pua twins. That interception in the state championship game, that one-hander was ridiculous. So if they could just run crisp routes and get their feet under them by week 2, like in the Arizona game, I think is a big thing. Again, receivers and backup running back are kind of my two heartache spots.
Okay, Trevor, your X factor. What are you looking at?
I really think that the tight ends are going to be what pushes us over the top. I think we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets that go out there just to make up some of that initial deficit that we're going to have at receiver with losing Chase and Parker. But I think that the freshmen that we have coming in, I've watched a lot of the film and stuff on Legend Glasker, and I really think that he's going to step up and become that freshman superstar that we have. We had LJ a few years ago. We had Bear last year, these freshmen who really jump out. And I think Legend's set to make that jump and be that superstar for us.
I'm really excited about Legend myself. I've watched him. I live pretty close to Lehigh High School, and that kid Lehigh had a better quarterback situation last year. I'm telling you, that kid could have put monster numbers up. He put good numbers up already, but could have even better. All right, Jordan, you get the final say on X Factor. What are you looking at offensively?
Yeah, I think honestly, it might surprise you, Bruce Mitchell. I think we need to see Bruce Mitchell, be the man. And I think he's shown that, but I feel like this is the year where he solidifies himself as an NFL prospect. Because I think he's in the conversation, but I still don't think it's solidified. So I feel like watching the O-line and just really him be the anchor and like the core of the offense, I feel like that's a big one. But I also agree that the tight ends 100% are going to be a huge X factor. And I just say that because Aaron Roderick. How many times someone says Aaron Rodgers instead of Aaron Rodgers? I think Jake said it a few times.
I've done it multiple times. Don't worry.
It happens. But I think he knows how to use a tight end, and it's been a little weird the last few years. Like, I was really surprised what happened to Keanu Hill. Like, I really thought he was going to be fantastic, and then just nothing happened with it. But I feel like Walker and then Roger are some really, really good options. And I think Roger's really interesting. And out of all the receivers, I would say he's the one to keep the eye on. Everyone's talking about him. He has an interesting body frame, size, quickness to him that I think he could be the player that, you're in fourth down, you're trying to win the game, he might be the guy that they're going to go to on those plays. I think that it's going to be him.
All right. Final question on the football front here. I want your guys. So I think some of you guys already alluded to it, Notre Dame game. But so outside of the Notre Dame game, because I think it's the marquee in terms of just the biggest game. John, you already kind of referred to the Arizona game. So I want your guys' I guess your key game of the season. It can be any other one than Notre Dame. Trevor, let's start with you.
I'm going to have to go with Utah, even though they are rebuilding. It's just anything happens in that game. And, I've seen too many times that it looks like it's going to go one way and then the script just flips. And, that's the one that scares me the most.
Okay, Jordan, what do you got? Did we lose Jordan?
All right, let's see. It was loading a little bit. What was your question once more?
So yeah, your X Factor game, I guess the biggest game outside of Notre Dame on the schedule from your vantage point.
Okay, perfect. I don't know. That's a good one. I'm not too sure. I feel like it'd be interesting seeing the whole Utah State thing shake down, just because it's been a little while since that happened. But overall, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to say anything other than Notre Dame. I think Texas Tech, of course, everyone's really excited for, but I don't look at like a team on our schedule and go, I wonder how that's going to pan out, or this is going to change the season. I really think we got to get into the national championship conversation of the playoffs. And I think once we get to the playoffs, then I think that's where it's going to get really interesting with who we play. We've played the Big 12, and I think we really know what to expect. And I think we're at the peak of BYU football right now outside of Lavelle. So there's not a game that I just look at besides for the Notre Dame game and go, I'm really excited for that. But Texas Tech is going to happen. I think we all know it. So that's, I guess, probably the answer.
I don't know. Who knows, man? You need a quarterback.
That is true.
And the Utes, 2024? I mean, that Isaiah with Wilson with Isaiah Wilson, Isaac Wilson, right? I mean, that is how much a quarterback, how bad quarterback play can completely tank your season. So I don't know if Texas Tech is going to have it, dude. Like,
wasn't there some rumors that Raiolo's possibly going to the school? Did that anything happen out of that?
There was some chatter on that front, but nothing, I think, formalized out of it. He's at Oregon, and I don't see him leaving the Ducks personally. We'll see what happens on that front. John, before we move along, I want to talk some basketball here momentarily, but what's the biggest game on the schedule from your vantage point?
It's Arizona. Well, I mean, it's always Utah for sure.
Yeah,
Arizona,
sure.
Right. but I mean, you've got to hit Arizona in the mouth, and you've got like a lot of like when we came out and scored 14 unanswered, and then let them crawl back in that game. And Arizona was way better than anyone ever thought they would be, right? But I mean, you go and you smack Arizona, beat them by 3 touchdowns. We are, and hopefully we have a top 15 ranking preseason or close to it. You go and again. Womp Arizona, and you're starting on the right foot.
All right, coming up next, I want to talk some basketball, and also a milestone for BYU Athletic Director Brian Santiago was reached earlier this week. We'll get to all that as we continue on this Fan Friday edition of Locked On Cougars. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day, much like Trevor, Jordan, and John here. Thank you to all of you for your support of this podcast. Thank you for making it your first listen today. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and share with your family and friends, and obviously help us continue to build this audience. All right, basketball front. The ongoing search for a center continues. We are still waiting to see if that is ever going to come to fruition. I assume it will at some point, but beyond that topic, because I think we're almost beating a dead horse at this point, it feels like on that front. John, I want to start with you. What's your biggest question mark around Kevin Young and the BYU basketball program right now?
Man, it's got to be Bruce Branch.
Okay.
AJ came in and just killed it as a freshman. I haven't seen a ton on Bruce, so I'm eager to see him and how he's going to a much different skill set than AJ, but hopefully, Rob, I love Rob Wright, and I'm so happy he's back. My question is, can he distribute? Because I'm not as confident in Bruce's ability to create his own shot as AJ's ability was, which is elite, right? No one can, right? So if Rob can distribute, hopefully he fits really well in the scheme.
All right, Jordan, what is your biggest question mark? Is it similar to John, or you got somewhere else you're going?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Bruce Branch is a really good answer because I don't know. For some reason, I've watched tape on Bruce Branch, but it doesn't seem as I don't want to say accessible as AJ's, because I think AJ was just so much more popular and played in so many games that I kind of question, Branch a little bit from the tape I've seen, because there's not so much out there to be publicized like there was AJ. I think, though, Bruce Branch will most likely he's not going to score nearly as many points, but I think he'd probably have more assists than AJ. And in the long run, I honestly think this team coming up could be a better team than we were last year. Of course, player-wise, I mean, we lose Richie and we lose AJ. I mean, those are two guys that are going to the NBA. Those are superstars. Richie, I think he could become a superstar in the NBA, but AJ will. But superstars don't always make the finals, right? And I think in this situation, I think we will be a better team next year. I think the passing will be better. We'll have a higher clip at the three. And I think it'll honestly be just as a fun, exciting team to watch. I kind of think this team will be similar to Mark Pope's last year. They were throwing around the ball and they were shooting threes all the time. And I think that this is kind of the basketball we're going to see, because I think that's what they're going to have to do. And then, of course, the center position, that's a question mark. I mean, if we don't get a center where I can't say his name, then I'm not happy. Honestly, that's how I feel. He better sound like a Mario Kart character or be from, Eastern Europe or something. And I'm going to be pretty excited about that.
Okay, I like that. Trevor, what do you got?
I think the biggest fear for me is just how well the team meshes going in from the get-go. We ran into that a little bit this last year, where it took a minute to get everyone on the same page and playing well together. And for huge stretches of the season, it was just hero ball, and it was AJ, Richie, Rob Wright taking turns. And towards the end of the season, it felt like, honestly, after Richie went down, it felt like that kind of went away for a minute, and then it came back again as we went into the tournament. And I think that that's something that we've got to make sure that our guys are meshing so that we can move the ball well, because like John and Jordan have mentioned, Bruce Branch isn't the creator that AJ is. And so we're going to need to be able to set each other up, and losing Richie loses someone who does move the ball well.
Okay, I also got to ask this. Did you guys even recognize Rob Wright when you saw that new photo of his new hair?
Oh, dude, I miss his hair.
I'm not going to lie. Somebody sent me that picture and said, hey, did you see Rob Wright? I'm like, who's that? I look like Rob Wright.
He looks like an NBA player now. I was talking to my dad the other day about it, and I sent him a picture because he always says it looked like he had like a mop or something on his head. And I told my dad, I go, you know what? He might boost up his draft stock now with the cut off hair. Seriously, I think teams are going to want him more now.
He had a unique look. There's no doubt about that. I'm dead serious. Somebody sent me a picture and said, hey, did you see Rob's new haircut? I'm like, that's not Rob Wright.
He looks so much older, though.
It was almost unrecognizable in so different ways. Okay, now the other thing I want to ask you guys about is Brian Santiago has taken over. He's been the athletic director for a full year as of this past week, or earlier this week, and it seems like it's flown by in so many ways. Now, Tom Holmoe was in that chair for nearly 2 decades, and I think all of us acknowledge that Tom was absolutely phenomenal at it. So, what is your guys' take on how Brian Santiago has done so far 1 year into his tenure? Jordan, I want to start with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. It was cool because because I'm from Vegas, so I got to go to the first game when we played Villanova. Yeah. And I was right up there at right on the court, and Brian Santiago, there he was. I saw him stand by with his famous pearly smile he has, and I was like, this is a really cool dude. He was chatting with some people in the crowd he must have known, but he just seemed like a good guy. He carries like a really amazing energy around him that I could just feel. Just that he's a good guy. He cares about the people around him. And I think that's what he brings to BYU. And he also brings, compared to Tom, like a younger lens, and I think he can really fit into any crowd he's in. So just from kind of meeting him, that was a really interesting perspective. And I think people, although he's not the coach, I feel like people want to play for him, even if he's not a coach. And I feel like you can't say that about a lot of athletic directors, not that they're not personable. It's just, you don't think about going into a team such as a basketball team and like, who's the athletic director? But I feel like at BYU, he plays a part in kids making the decision to go here.
Fair enough. Trevor, what do you got?
I think Brian's done awesome. I think that Tom left some big shoes to fill. And even though Brian was taking over for Tom and had been right there in lockstep with Tom for years, it's still so easy to be able to drop the ball and fumble the whole situation. And I think he's done a great job of not just maintaining, but continuing to build. And you can see that with the success in athletic programs across the university.
Yeah, the revenue obviously is a big part of that, and he's been tasked with obviously just keeping BYU operating in the black with a bigger budget than they've ever had before. John, what's your take on Brian?
I mean, he retained Kalani Sitake.
Yeah.
Penn State came calling for him, was going to pay him double his salary, and Brian kept him. Now, again, there was lots of things that went on behind the scenes, I'm sure, to keep Kalani Sitake, but he kept him. He retained him, and without Kalani Sitake, we would be at least half a decade before we would recover. And so, I mean, whatever his accomplishments or whatever his lackings may have been, he retained Kalani. That is giant to protect him from the Navy Lions.
That's a very good point. I think that's a really, really good point on your front. All right. So I want to finish up with this, with these Fan Fridays. I want to get a feel for what brought you to being a BYU fan. So, John, I'm going to start with you. I understand that you went to BYU, if I'm not mistaken. So, is that when your fandom started? Did you grow up a fan? Like, background? Okay. Absolutely not.
I think again, I watched Sean Bradley play against Air Force in the Marriott Center. I was really young, but the one game that I remember just solidifying my fandom was the Cotton Bowl. The Steve Sarkisian pass to Keoalui, and then Margin Hooks' last second interception on the goal line lost my mind. So that's the time that I fell in love with BYU sports.
Okay, so you're kind of like me, because that '96 season, that's when it locked me in. Watch 14-1, and that Cotton Bowl, man, that's an iconic moment in BYU history, obviously.
Just that Huskies game, man, so close, so sad.
Well, you guys have heard the story about that, right? The team wanted to wear the all whites, and Lavelle was so superstitious, and he signed off on it, and he never would let them ever do it again because they lost that one game. So crazy times. All right, Jordan, you're from Vegas. You're the young buck, I think, in this group, but what made you a Cougar fan?
Yeah, I grew up in the church, so of course, BYU's everywhere, and I went to school with some BYU players that play now, and it was just kind of a cool thing that happened to be that BYU was the school of my choice, and I just love watching them. They're the most exciting team to watch in college football, in my opinion, and they're just like one of those teams. It's like they're either going to be terrible or they're going to be absolutely amazing. And either or, they're always going to keep you on your heels. So that's what's kind of made it fun for me. And my late grandfather, he'd watch it with me. So it's always fun looking back at that. And I just love watching BYU sports. It's just, there's something about it that's just so exciting. Something about it. I don't know what it is compared to so many other schools. They're, like I said, just keep you on your toes, and they're just a fun team to watch. The organization's great, and they just do everything right. You go on Instagram and the marketing team, and it's like everything about BYU is just top notch.
The cut videos are so good.
By the way, the work that goes into the cut, I've talked to the folks who work behind the scenes on that. It takes the manpower, I guess the people power to get that done in the time frame they get it done. they don't take breaks for like a full 36 hours for the most part in terms of getting that bad boy done. And so be thankful to the BYU marketing, video, social media teams for putting in the effort they do, because to turn that around, it is a Herculean effort.
For sure.
I can assure you of that. All right, Trevor, what brought you to being a BYU fan? What do you got?
So I grew up as a BYU fan, but I would consider myself a passive fan growing up.
Okay.
It wasn't until I actually went to school at BYU, and I had the opportunity to work for the football team and ran equipment for the football team. And so that's really what jump-started my fandom and took it to a whole nother level, just being around the guys and getting to know the guys. And, it's a different way that you get to know someone when you're traveling with them, staying in hotels with them, out there practice every day. And it really jump-started everything. And since then it's been something where I've stayed in contact with people and still have the opportunity to get to know some guys. And it's been awesome.
So you had a vested interest, like you were part of it. You were, like, to use the Hamilton expression, you were in the room where it happened. So that.
Oh yeah. I had the exact same excusal letter for classes and stuff that the players got. So when we went on the road for games,
so cool.
I just followed up with the players, and I'm 5'8", and I just follow up with all the guys and hand the professor my paper. And, sometimes I got a double take, and I'm just like, you can call it in if you want, but I got the same.
Who forged this for you?
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. What team were you working in the equipment room for? Like, who was the quarterback?
I was there for 2011 with
nice.
Jay Keeps and Riley Nelson. And then I went on my mission and took some time off from school, and then was back in 16 and 17.
Okay.
So unfortunately I finished out in 17, which was rough, but I was there for 16. So I actually was when we played Utah and Kai got ejected. And so I was the one who got to escort him to the locker room and sit with him. He cooled off for a minute. Then I'm walking back out onto the field right as Austin McChesney gets ejected. And so took him to the locker room. And that was my assignment for that game. Dude. Oh yeah. It was fun just walking them in, and, you just sit there and they're obviously expressing some emotion, and, it was interesting just to hear their take right there. But yeah.
That is such a cool job, dude. I'm infuriated that you had such a cool job. Well,
what was that last player you mentioned? Was that McChesney, you said?
Yes, yeah, McChesney.
A running back?
Yeah.
No,
it is the
so Jackson,
free safety. Yeah, Jackson McChesney.
Jackson was the running back. His older brother Austin was the one who got ejected.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys remember Jackson, right?
Yes.
He is the biggest what if in BYU football history in my life. Like, what he could have been.
Yeah. Well, then
was that game against USC? He was a dog, man.
Yep.
Just an absolute workhorse.
Also, Mason Wake. Shout out to Mason Wake.
Hey, Mason's a stud. There's no doubt about that. There you have it. Thank you to all of you so far who have been on the Fan Friday shows that we've done during this offseason. We'll keep them rolling probably through the month of June, at least through the end of this month, no doubt about that. And thank you to all of you who are in our Everydayer Club and obviously have been willing to join us here. It's been awesome to get your perspectives. And if you would like to be a part of that, join the Locked On Cougar Everydayer Club. Go to lockedoncougars.supercast.com or check out the link in the show notes below to get signed up and be a part of our future editions of Fan Friday. All right, that's going to do it. As always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review, share the show with your family and friends. As always, follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Search out Locked On Cougars. I am at Jacob C. Hatch if you want to find them on those very same platforms as well. And as always, thank you for being here. We're going to send you, if you're listening to, not listening, but watching this on YouTube, to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On College YouTube channel for more great Locked On content there. Or, as I mentioned, if you're listening, check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin is helping us plot our way through the long offseason leading up to this coming football season. And as always, thank you for being an everydayer with us right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.